Hello, welcome to this week's episode of the SLB Show. It is Grant, Louis and Mitch, and we're back for another hopefully exciting show. Thanks for all the feedback from last week. Had a good number of people reach out and said they enjoyed the instant reaction to the cup final, so thank you very much for that. But we're getting closer now, I suppose, after that's out of the way. Now we're straight into looking at the playoffs, because the end of the championship season is upon us and the race to the playoffs begins. But firstly, guys, how are you both? Louis, you well?
I'm good, thank you.
I love that. Mitch, are you over the flu? Or are you hitting man flu season?
Still a little bit under the weather, but I am fighting through it.
Good. So we're all ready to go. So we're going to do this a little bit different. A couple of different narratives or questions to ask. Some of them the guys know about. Some of the questions they don't know. So it's going to be like a back and forth and around that kind of discussion. We'll see how this goes. So the first one, these are in no kind of real order. But when you're watching the games from the weekend, Bristol Flyers obviously went 0-2. They've played 4 games in March. They're 0-4 in March. But is Joe Anderson the most impactful player in the league? Because when Bristol don't have him, they really struggle to look like they're in games. Even if they lose games with Joe, he is their point guard. It's almost, I'm wearing my Gladiators hoodie today. If you go back to the Rocks a few seasons ago when Jordan Johnson played for them, he was the only creative player in the roster. It's almost that kind of similar roster build where you've got loads of wings and you've got athletic guys. Well, Yoakum's probably the equivalent of Mitch Jordan Harris from that season, if you remember. I think that's a great comparison.
I can see that. I can see that actually quite well.
Brilliant comparison, actually. And
Where
then
did that come from?
Back there somewhere. Wow. Very niche content there. He's had a great wee career, actually. But anyway,
moving on.
Sorry, bad point. But is Joe Anderson the most impactful player in the league? Because when he's not there, Bristol really look completely different. Louis, your instant thoughts on that one?
Okay, well, you've clearly, put an interesting thought out there. Well, I think it's just a big issue is exactly as you say, that like the squad construction doesn't, without him, they haven't really got another PG. You know, they've got Jonathan Brown, who's like a combo, who's not really that type. He's not really a PG in that sense. And they don't have Corey Samuels anymore. He's gone. Yeah. So they don't, rest in peace. But, basically they just don't have any replacement. And that's really tough, especially for a guy that I feel like whose impact I feel like has gone under the radar a little bit. You know, he's been keeping them ticking. Obviously, their offense hasn't been top half, but his steady kind of play has really just helped them essentially just maintain an adequate offense. Go on.
Yeah, but and just backing it up, there's been games where this is where you can tell he's a rookie. Like, he's someone that has a massive upside to his future career. Like, as a rookie, he's able to come in and run and control a team really well. Like, there's been games when if Joe Anderson makes that one bucket in the last minute, they win the game. That's happened at least 2 times I can think of off the top of my head. So their record could be better. Imagine him 2 seasons down the line. Like, I think he's got a massive kind of upside ceiling where he's going to go up levels or be a mainstay of a team for a while. Like, he almost reminds me of a player from a few years. I'm going throwing back the names today. Marek Klassen, point guard who was at Leeds and Wolves, Mitch? Nah. He went on and played like Pro A. Like, he's played like top leagues in Europe, but played for Leeds Force of all teams at one point. And it's almost that you look at the way Joe Anderson wants to move the ball, the way he's positive. He's got a really nice shot. I think you're right, Louis. He's probably he's definitely in that top 2-3 most underrated players this season.
Yeah,
but, like he's so good. Like, he's just a really good point guard.
He's just a heady player who doesn't dominate the ball. You know, thinking of other teams, you know, he would help a lot of teams. I feel like he's not really the type of guard that we often see in this league. I feel like, because often we get guards like, Rodney Chapman Apprentice. You know, we get a lot of ball dominant guards, and he is kind of the antithesis of that. He plays really well off ball. He's got a really good catch and shoot. Spreads the ball a lot, really well. So yeah.
Mitch, what do you think?
I agree with both of you. I think as you kind of said, his priority is more about playmaking than scoring. I think it really helps him kind of stand out in that essence of he's a key cog in the machine, not the flashiest part, but you take that cog away, a lot of things don't function as well as they usually do. And that's a cog that a lot of teams actually could use, have some benefit in. And he kind of does he can do a little bit of everything and do it decently well. I can think of, when you look at the teams that are on the top end of the table, most of them have at least one guy who can at least pass the ball relatively well. But yeah, Bristol kind of are reliant upon him, and you clearly saw without him what was happening, especially this weekend.
And maybe this weekend, we've seen it a few times in recent games with different teams struggling with injuries and whatnot. But Jonathan Brown has really kind of exploded into the international break, got involved in the camp, and clearly come out of that with confidence. What's your thoughts, Louis, on Jonathan Brown's this season, and obviously seeing what he can potentially do?
Yeah, so I previously on X, I kind of said he could be a player in contention with kind of an expanded squad list for GB, because I saw him in a game against a BBL team where I felt like he performed very well, because he's very athletic, 6'3". In terms of translating to that international game, I feel like he works well, you know, because he has the frame, the physicality to defend at that level, you know. Obviously, the challenges with Bristol are that he's not in terms of controlling the game, in terms of playmaking, etc. That's something he's a little bit more deficient in, because he's always been like a combo. He's never been really trusted as kind of like that lead guard out and out. So that's something for him to learn. Obviously, his slashing skill in terms of his actual speed going downhill, I feel like is really impressive. But it's just things to kind of round out his game that I feel like will come with added years. So,
do you think for him, like coming into that GB camp, he's surrounded by players like that? You've seen him, like he was really unlucky. Well, I thought he played a really great game against London in terms of trying to be that aggressor without Joe Anderson. Like he tried to show that he's got a bit of value. Like for someone so young, it's quite a mature performance, just trying to take his team across the line. And yeah, first 2-3 quarters of that game was a low scoring game. It was really only the fourth quarter in which London stretched it away. So are we seeing someone that, as a young British player, can make a difference at this level?
I don't see why not, especially in the future. You know, he has the athletic talent, but it's something that the SLB or BBL hasn't really done well of in getting guys and developing them long term. You know,
Yeah.
I feel like Toto was an example in that he's an athletic talent. You know, he has a lot of gifts, but he needs some time. You know, Jonathan Brown, you know, he has the athletic talent to play at higher levels. I feel like, you know, he showed it in that BBL game, you know, where he's just so lightning quick downhill. You know, if he gets a straight line drive, you know, he's going to finish at the rim. But it's just a couple years down the line, I feel like, and maybe he's a starter. I don't know.
Yeah. Do we think that when we look at Bristol right now, sitting 5th place, 12 and 14, no wins in March, a tough schedule for sure. Let's be honest. Are they a team that we talked so positively about them kind of at the turn of the year, December time? But like when you look at their schedule, they've got Riders away, they've got London, they've got Manchester, Surrey at home. They've 24th of April, they're away to the Gladiators. Like it feels like their schedule's quite tough to end out that kind of regular season time. Like where do we see our Bristol? We kind of thought Bristol maybe a bit lower down this season. Or do we still expect them maybe to be in that 5th, 6th place battle, or should they be more worried?
Well, if Joe Anderson's going to be out for a longer term, I'm not going to lie, I haven't kept up to date. I really should know, but I don't know. That's not going to be great.
I don't think it's
feel
been.
like
I've not seen it reported anywhere in terms of
actually officially
a duration officially of what his injury is.
Okay,
Yeah.
so in terms of, I feel like they should be watching out for Surrey because, well, they took Sheffield to the sword, practically speaking, with their full, 3-guard lineup. That's. I feel like they have the quality of a top half team.
Yeah.
But Leicester's going to be. Well, actually, that could be a good question that I'll leave for later. So I feel like, yeah, they could be looking down potentially. So
Yeah. Right,
yeah.
talking of Bristol, let's move, and maybe this is where your next question comes into it.
Yeah.
Obviously, big stories as well. Obviously, the fallout from Leicester in terms of players leaving and whatnot. But they announced the signing of Keddy Johnson. Spent 2 seasons at Bristol. He has joined the Leicester Riders. Didn't play this weekend. But how do we think Keddy will do coming back? Third term in SLB. Coming in really late, obviously, deadline is basically passing. He's replacing Spencer Johnson more than anything else. Well, no, that's maybe not fair. Spencer Johnson being injured last week doesn't help them. This signing was probably already in the making, you'd imagine, before then. But it just goes to show you how, what's the right word I'm trying to think of? That actually he's going to come in and have to play a crazy important role pretty much from the go. What do you think?
I mean, from what you kind of taken from it, main profile guy that Leicester lost was Battle. So the question is, how much is Keddy going to help you get back to some of the scoring you're getting from Raekwon? We know he can score the ball. That's not a question about that. Can he fit into Rob's style quickly and have a massive impact? It's yet to be seen. He'd had a bit more freedom at Bristol when he was there. Rob's a very different kind of coach, and Leicester's a very different type of team. You did see a little, I'm sure Louis will touch on it, like Boardman-Raffet had a really good game at the weekend and showed some of the opportunity if you give one of your younger Brits who's on that roster and given his all. So maybe you'll have to replace the entirety of Battle, but if Keddy can give you some of that and you can give some guys who are maybe not getting as many minutes more minutes to compensate, it could be enough for them to really start, maybe get a couple of good wins to finish the season out.
So he spent the first part of the season, and he's played 23 games in Lebanon. In regular season game, he averaged over 17 points in 36 minutes off 21% shooting from 3, averaged 3.5 rebounds and 5.6 assists.
Yeah, not great. Do you want me to go into that?
I mean, go for it.
So Lebanon's kind of like, well, it's just a scorers league, practically speaking. It's not actually that bad a level, but it's like a high money market where like players get paid, basically speaking. So he would have got paid there. In terms of actual, like, speaking about Raekwon, so before that emergent performance from Flynn Boardman-Raffet, I mean, I knew Flynn Boardman-Raffet was a really good player. I knew he had that kind of performance in him, but I mean, I liked him before the season. Before the season, you did. From Canada, but before then, I hadn't really clocked kind of how well those two could work, and I feel like because I don't really like Keddy as a primary guy. I think we saw that at Bristol. He's not. I feel like he's kind of too limited a scorer.
Would you like
to
hear Keddy's year 2 at Bristol stats? So 17.5 points, 3 rebounds.
What's his true shooting percentage?
I don't have that nonsense. I'm just on Pro Ballers, mate. 17.5 points a game, 3 over 3 rebounds, over 3 assists, 33 minutes. He shot the ball 30% from 3, 43% from the field. 3.2 turnovers a game.
Yeah. So I mean, we know
And he was their
we know,
leader last year.
Yeah, we know what Keddy can do at volume. You know, he can score at volume. He's at Bristol, as Mitch was saying. He had a lot of freedom. He's in terms of against Raekwon, he's not the same kind of player. You know, they're obviously going to have to change up some things for him. He's not that type of catch and shoot guy. They're not going to be able to run the same actions for him. You know, so that's going to be completely different for Leicester, trying to fit him in, and Evie and Flynn. But like as we know, he's as a scorer in the pick and roll, he can do that at volume. So in terms of actually making up that usage gap and points gap, you know, obviously you're losing with Don Carey. Now even Spencer Johnson, he will make up for that. But the thing that I really like is kind of him, and now they have Flynn Boardman-Raffet to fill up a lot of that gap. So you have a guy like Flynn who, you know, is a really I'll use this. I feel like he's quite similar to Aaron Wright. Really similar to Aaron Wright in terms of how well he gets downhill, his decel game. You know, around the basket, he's really tough to defend, you know, with his kind of herky-jerky Euro step.
I mean, you saw that score
game
he had when he laid up over Nicholson when he played Manchester.
That was sick.
That was just good use of his body.
Yeah, he uses his body really well. But I feel like him and Keddy, because Flynn Boardman-Raffet can knock down the catch and shoot off ball. He's a good cutter. You know, we saw him get a lot of points of cuts that game. You know, even though he was kind of like the primary scorer, you know, he works well off ball. Having him and Keddy kind of interchangeable like pieces, I feel like can work well. You know, obviously Keddy's also, you know, like a West Virginia product. You know, he's in terms of on-ball defense, he can get kind of carried away in terms of like gambling, but he's, you know, if Rob gets on him, I'm sure that can be valuable. And kind of, if you look at other pieces like Suleiman, you know, who really lock in on defense, that could be an identity. I feel like it's something to work around, you know. In beforehand, I wasn't really that high on it, but now that I've kind of seen the vision, so to speak, with him and Flynn, maybe it could start getting wins. But I
think the craziest thing about all this is Leicester in recent weeks has been so short-handed. Yet tell me really any game where they've not looked like they've had a chance to win.
Exactly.
Like that's the scary thing.
They've locked in defensively.
Absolutely, and I think like they genuinely have been like they've lost games. They're 10-13. They've still got 3 games to go in terms of in hand against rivals. But they've lost 4 in the bounce since kind of all this. I'm waiting to see their next 5. They play Sheffield, Bristol, Surrey, Gladiators, Manchester, and you go, actually, their schedule's really, really, really mixed. That they could, especially adding Keddy in. Flynn missed games. Flynn missed 2 games, I think, maybe just the one. He missed the game against the Gladiators anyway. I think he missed both games against the Gladiators.
Apparently, wasn't 100% for that 35-point game.
Yeah, he's been.
Apparently still hobbled.
I think he's played through the pain. Suleiman's been injured as well, and you go, actually, how is this team even in these games? Like, they lost to what? Sheffield. Sorry, no, not play. They lost to Manchester by 3. Gladiators in double overtime. They did lose to the first time against the Gladiators by 14, but first half they were in that. I think they were up at half. They lost to Cheshire in the last minute. They beat Surrey when they were shorthanded by 3. Like, they've genuinely not lost games by more than a score or 2. Like, if Keddy comes in and Rob gets them working into Rob's defensive patterns and playing the kind of game plan, I think we were talking about Leicester last week, maybe they might be dropping to 8th place, or will they go further down? They can't go further down. They're not going. No one's dropping to 9th, but they're going to go down to 8th. But actually, with how they've been playing, adding in a 1 or 2 players, Like, Mitch, do you not agree? Like, actually, Leicester are going to be coming into this bit of the place time maybe better than some of the other teams are.
Potentially. I mean, I'm doing a little bit what you guys have been talking. Have we had anything with Mark Living yet? Because he's obviously not played for a bit, and
Bro, he's the same. He's
the same as Keddy.
So still the same as
Yeah.
Keddy.
Bro, they're gone. Okay, he's gone. They're all gone.
Because I'm looking at who
unlikely to be back.
I'm looking at
Yes.
their who they've got, and out of their top top 7 3-point shooters on their team, they've now only got 3 of them. The other 4 are now gone. Like, Spencer Johnson was like their second best 3-point shooter.
Spencer Johnson's one of the best players in that team because of what he brings. Like, we've seen what he's had to do in recent games when he's had to take over, but he's a quality basketball player.
Yeah. My point is, you've not got, aside from now, Evie, who's the only person above 35% on that team. Like, this game plan against Leicester with Keddy now on the roster is they have to go all in on, I want loser touch from attacking the basket and go on that aggressiveness first. If I'm against some other teams, if I've got some physicality on my team, I've got some inside presence, I'm not too worried about Leicester. I'm more worried about the smaller teams may have more problems against them because they don't have the bodies to throw it, like Keddy attacking the basket as aggressively as he's going to do. Like, a team like Surrey may actually struggle a bit more just because they're so guard heavy. You're having this guy attacking the basket over and over and over again. They may just naturally get more fouls called on them. I'm interested to see how it works out with Keddy, because is this a Keddy where he's just going to come in and be your 2-man attacking the basket relentlessly, or is he actually going to try and be a playmaker and probably turn the ball over a bit more as a result? We'll have to wait and see.
I mean, we talked. If we get Keddy, I think from season 1 in Bristol when he was the clear 2 in the team, whereas let's be honest, last season he was the 1. He played.
The announcement was the 1. There was a whole thing around it.
They did make a point about him being the lead man, but that's Travis Evie. Flynn Boardman-Raffet will handle the ball as well, probably. And then adding Keddy, and all of a sudden you go, wait a minute, they've got almost a front court lineup of those 3 names mentioned that actually they don't need Nduku, Suleiman, Menzies, Martin all on the court at the same time anymore. Like, they genuinely they've just by Flynn being fit and adding in Keddy, they've given themselves a greater wing of option. If the Keddy will, I think they'd be daft to take the ball away from Travis. Like, he's played the systems. He played. Oh,
well, I mean, but it's just it's just tweaking things slightly. It's not him in a completely different role, but obviously, have him be off ball more.
It's not going to be a bad thing, I don't think.
So we're saying that
really played very well recently.
So in summary, are we saying that Keddy has the potential to make a good, positive difference to Leicester? That's the kind of vibe I think we're feeling.
Well, I think if you kind of think about it, because Flynn's obviously very physical, he's very strong, so you can play. Well, I'm assuming this is probably going to be the starting lineup. Travis Evie, Keddy, and then Flynn at the 3, because obviously Flynn can also rebound the ball really well because he played in Canada. He had to.
Why does playing in Canada make him a good? Oh, he played in Canada.
No, because at lower levels,
just the way
guys
you
need
said
to do
that,
more
sorry.
stuff. Guys need to do more stuff.
Okay.
You get me?
Yeah.
Okay, so practically speaking, they can have a 4, like Nduku. Well, Nduku can literally just space the floor, stretch the floor, sit in the corner. Practically speaking,
he's shot the ball really well, hasn't he?
He's been shooting the ball really well. To speak against Mitch's point about bad 3-point shooting, Vic Nduku's been hitting the shots. But practically speaking, like, they can have a guy like Suleiman in the lineup, and he doesn't really have to do much. He can, practically speaking, just lock in defensively.
Be a defensive monster, yeah.
Be a defensive monster. You could even go mad and have the dual big lineup as they've done with Nate Martin at the 4.
I really like Nate Martin. I think he's one of the. He's another underrated body this season.
He's an underrated body. I really wish, because he.
We just wish Johnny O'Neill came. We do wish Johnny O'Neill came.
We do wish Johnny O'Neill came. But he kind of I wish he wasn't so forced into like that short midi. Because he's not so great at kind of crafting looks at the rim out of the post and kind of creating advantages out of the post. So he's kind of forced into that short midi, which kind of affects his field goal percentage. We kind of saw that against Matt Nicholson. He's kind of forced into that like short mid and a lot of misses. But I feel like he's a really impactful player. But anyway, go on. That was kind of tangential.
No tangent. So that's our thoughts on Leicester. All right, next question. And I asked this a few weeks ago when we did our kind of race for the kind of top 8 slots and stuff. Who's getting second? Manchester or Cheshire? I mean, do you want, I was in two minds when I'll say, we said 2 weeks ago, so before the cup final, when we did our kind of preview and stuff, we kind of did a race to the 8. Louis, you put Manchester second with Cheshire third, which was the same as Mitch, and I went the flip. I put Cheshire in second with Manchester in third. Anyone wanting to change? Anyone?
No, but if you give me some time, I might be able to calculate my polls that I did.
All right, so let's have a look at what their run is. Cheshire have only 4 domestic regular season games remaining. They are 17-11, so they've got that one on the board. They have played more games than absolutely, everyone. So their 4 games, when you look at the schedule, they are home to London, away to London, home to the Gladiators, home to the Riders. So potentially 3 hard games, 2.5 hard games. Depends what Leicester do. Manchester, they are 7-1+ pot behind them, played 2 fewer games, are 16-10. So if we're going to go off an old school percentage or points, BBL or SLB ways, obviously 32 points to 34 points. Manchester have 6 games remaining. They are due to play 89ers, Eagles both away, Flyers at home, Riders away, Lions at home, and Sharks away. So 4 away games, 2 home games, and I think that's quite a hard schedule for Manchester. They've obviously got the battle of EMBL as well to throw into the mix. Like, are you, Mitch, you go first on this one. Are you happy with keeping with Manchester, or are you going to move closer to the fence post?
I mean, I was already pretty close to the fence post on
You
this.
were.
But, right. If, again, it's a big if, but if Cheshire can take one of the games against London, it's done. In my mind. They need to beat London in one of those 2 games they've got against them. If Cheshire beat London, I think they've got second place locked up, personally. Manchester's run is their games they should be winning, and they've already beaten London already, so they should be feeling confident going to that game.
But that game's also, you could throw into context well for London, and this is a later question I was going to ask. If London have already sealed the league by that point, like, what did they put out against that Manchester team in that game at the end of April?
Are you kidding me?
What?
They will be fired up. They will not throw that game away.
I'm not saying they throw away, but why after that?
Are you kidding me, bro?
I'm. You know what? Fuck it. I'm not kidding you on.
What?
I'm going for this. Nah, London win the league. They'll rest bodies. They've been banged up all season.
Nah, they'll be sucking.
I don't believe this. I don't believe this, but because you've said that, I'm going to go with this. Matt Goodwin's going to be back in the starting lineup.
Okay, right. Okay, let's just bring this down a little.
Also, like, going back on this, if our league table was done on percentages, Manchester would be above Cheshire.
Right.
Ooh, damn.
Okay. So for looking at we're talking about that London from Manchester. All the investment in getting that game emotionally right now is for Manchester more than London. London have already proven it. They've won a final. They don't really care that much if the league at that point is solidified. They won't I don't think they'll try as hard, but I still think they won't want to get destroyed by Manchester and give them momentum. By that point of the season as well, there's a way they should be able to identify who they're going to be potentially playing in the semi-finals of the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I can imagine you may see some decision making on the squad based on that, potentially, who they actually want to face. And if I'm London, who would I rather face in the semis? Would I rather have the better chance of facing Manchester or better chance of facing Cheshire?
I don't know. I don't know if that's a really interesting question.
Cheshire, probably.
See, I would rather
Over 2 legs.
over 2 legs.
Yeah,
I'd rather have over 2 legs. I'd rather have Manchester than Cheshire.
Yeah, but Manchester's already beaten them twice.
Yeah,
So it's
but
like, what's there to speak about?
you look at some of these Cheshire results at home, and I'm like, it's not worth the risk.
Yeah, but like London, I feel like.
London have already beat Manchester in
like-
a one-off game.
Yeah, but Manchester's already beaten them twice. So it's like, and I feel like they kind of have Cheshire's number a little bit. Obviously, one of their games were close, but
I don't know.
So what are we saying then? Who do we think? Who are we going for finishing second?
My gut says Manchester. I'm going to stick with it.
Manchester.
Reason being?
Come on, man! Don't do that to me. I just wanted to throw it away.
I think it's going to be close, but I think Manchester.
I genuinely think when you look at the schedule there, I think if Knicks sneak a win against London, and
I wasn't really listening, to be honest. I was too busy trying to work out maths.
I know.
Wow.
Standard Louis.
By the way, 64% of the SLB show people voted Manchester. So
Okay.
See,
Here's
thank you for your contribution, Louis, for working that number out.
Do we know who's got the head-to-head, Manchester or Cheshire? Right now, who's got the head-to-head between those two teams?
Manchester, isn't it?
Pretty sure it's Manchester, right?
Yeah.
So that means even if they're
looked that up properly.
No,
Yeah,
it is. It was on the Discord.
but if they're tied, that still means Manchester gets second place. So Cheshire has to outright hope that Manchester doesn't win enough games to not finish second. And we looked at the last 5, not London. Manchester should be looking to get those 4 wins. If they do or not, yet to be seen. But yeah, I'm going. I'm saying Manchester. I'm sticking with it.
Yeah, even if you look at Cheshire, I look at these games. I've gone Cheshire, so they're what? Okay, they've played 2 more games. If they win their Glads and Riders game both at home, they finish the season 19-13.
Yeah.
So, of that Manchester 6, do you see them getting 3 wins? So their 6 games are 89ers away, Eagles away, Flyers at home, Riders away, Lions at home, Sharks away.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay then.
So yeah, I'm staying Manchester.
Sorted.
There you go.
Sorted.
It's going to be London. So we're saying London, Manchester, Cheshire, and it's going to be like a game, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be tight.
All right, bit of a fun one. Skylar White became all-time leading 3 points made for Cheshire Phoenix. Big up. That's a big thing. Like Cheshire's like
That's a big thing.
That's a big thing. Peter Cameron, Tobias's father. I love that link. I genuinely love that link. Was the previous record holder, which goes way back, obviously, to the early noughties. Probably end of the 90s as well, actually. But anyway, no, noughties. Why has Skylar White been so good this season? Like, genuinely, when you look at it, statistically, he's maybe had one other season in this country where he's gone off and had, I think it was 15 points a game, I think I said to Mitch, when he was on that Surrey side back a few years ago. He's obviously played in Norway and whatnot as well. But to me, you look at Skylar White, I think he's a better player this season than he has been at any other season since he's come back to Cheshire. Like, he's got a more all-rounded game. He physically looks more game shape. Like normally he maybe starts in good shape and he maybe loses it, injuries, whatnot, comes and bugs him down. But he's the type of guy, and we're talking about players underrated earlier. His inside game's massively underrated. He's a massively underrated defender as well under the basket. That actually, he's making a huge difference and is a big, regardless of his threes, as a major cornerstone to why Cheshire are always, or not always, but have been that kind of top 4 contender in his time there. Is that fair enough?
Oh yeah, because I mean, the big part of why teams find it so difficult is because of his stretch threat as like a pick and pop guy. So he creates the endless dilemma whether teams about, guys like Matt Nicholson, they simply can't play on the floor against Cheshire because of Skylar White's pick and pop threat. So yeah, and obviously like recent seasons, like he's really improved. Just like his obviously game shape and just in terms of like defending around the basket, I feel like he's really added. Well, it's in terms of his block rates, he's gone from. I'll get up. One sec.
Nice, but I'll just say this thing: his 3-point percentage this season is his best as a professional.
Yeah, I mean, it's also because of the like. Yeah, go on.
I know. I'm just going to say he's playing less minutes. He's slightly down. He's playing a minute less than last season, and his field goal percentage is up. His 3-point percentage is up. He's getting more rebounds, and you're just like, you know what? He's 2 points better a game as well. Like, it just seems like he is the reason, or a big part of the reason why. And we talk about what else he does, the screaming when he scores and the celebrating and whatnot. He clearly just has fun when he's playing, but he's definitely in his 3rd season in a row being at Cheshire. He's having his best season yet. When you look at other seasons in the UK, like his Surrey season was good, but that was kind of like, I mean, let's be honest, the standard of the league in 2019, 2020 isn't as good as it is now.
No.
It's
no, sir.
I think it's also part of it is like he's just constantly refined his role in Cheshire last few years as well, and they've kind of identified what they need to get the most out of him, and kind of proof in the pudding of you don't necessarily need the most minutes every night to be the most efficient and the best version of yourself. Like Skylar, as you said, played a little bit less. He's having his best score near the year. It's what you can get out of him in the minutes you give him, and if he's consistently going to give you performance like he is, where he can drop 5 threes in a quarter out of the blue. Okay, sure, let's live with that. And he's not giving you up too much on the defensive end. He's actually, I think, weirdly underrated inside in terms of a defender.
He's brilliant. I actually think he's brilliant defensively.
You really get talked about it, I think, sometimes.
Like the amount of times that you see bigger guys try and back him down and they can't do it, or guys that are got like traditionally big, great games inside can't do it. Like going in a slight tangent, like genuinely thinking that he could be an incredible 3x3 player.
Oh, I wonder why you bring that up.
No, but generally, like that is why. But we talked about it a couple. Well, I don't know if we had to talk about it in a show, but like in terms of what he does, he's got a really good all-round package now. Louis, hit me with stats.
Yeah, no. So practically speaking, he has around the same role he's had, similar usage rate as the previous couple of seasons, which is the amount of possessions he ends via shot attempts or turnovers. It's just his actual like shot efficiency is just skyrocketed. It obviously, as you say, his 3-point percentage. Well, 2 seasons ago, 34%. Now it's 43%, and that's on the massive volume that he's having. So that's a coupling of obviously the point guard play of make it really tough to cover that. The actions that he's in. Because you're having to contend with Pat Robinson going full steam ahead.
But you've got Pat, you've got Policelli, who quite often, like there was a number of times the weekend, he just kind of had the ball in hands at the arc and went, I'll just shoot. And okay, he'll score them because, well, Policelli is also an incredible 3-point shooter. But do you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of scoring options on that team and his volume still through the roof.
Yeah, he's clearly like in Manchester Pro-Am, he's just chucking mad shots up. He's clearly worked incredibly hard. You can see it in his physique. He's leveled up the league, practically speaking. Norway, I feel like is like a really lower end league. he obviously did very well there, but for him to now be, playing at that level in a second place team with Cheshire in the levels of the league that it is now is very impressive. So big up.
And I think he's someone that if we get into a playoff game and need a big shot, Pat Robinson can't get free, Skylar would happily take the ball. Like he's someone I think lives for those big moments and that risk and reward type basketball that he wants to play.
Yeah, for sure. Like he's essentially like, he's their talisman, practically speaking. So
I mean, yeah, his mummy owns the team as well, but
yeah, yeah.
But he's backing up. Like people could say, like, oh, he's only playing because whatever, and you're like, actually, no, he's backing it all up. Like
he's literally like, he's really.
He's literally having an incredible season. Like he's literally. I generally don't know what else he could do to, like, he's helping his team win games. They've had a tremendous season. Like,
I think
Pat Robinson's excelled. On you go, Mitch. Sorry.
Like Ben's made the really smart decision of like Skylar's skill set for a guy his size is a rarity. So it's hard to recruit a guy of that size and that mobility to actually be able to defend the 3-point line and transition consistently well. So as a result of that, he's made that very smart decision of recruit players around that as our center point. He's our guy that we're going to draw bigs away from the basket. So guys like Pat Robinson can attack the basket at will, and if other guys over three, even better. We've got more 3-point shooting options.
Well, sorry, continue.
Finish
it off.
It's just, I honestly think that Ben has just recruited a really good team based on the fact that Skylar's a hard guy for a 5 to defend properly.
Yeah, like it's just such a valuable skill set because, like, as you say, he is completely lights out. You have to be right there. Yep. Otherwise, he is getting that bucket, and he couples that with the ability to be an impossible to score on in the post. Yeah. So he's not a mismatch against fives. So that, that's not exploitable. So that makes the matchup against fives terrible.
The funny thing is, a lot of fives look at him and say, "Oh, he's a catch shoot 3-point threat. He's not going to be the player to play in the post. He can do just fine down there too. He holds his own there well enough, especially on the defensive end. That's why so many bigs are probably thinking, "Oh, he's a 3-point shooter. We don't have to worry about him defending the post. He won't know what he's doing." It's like he's doing just fine. It's not that much. It's not a problem in there.
Yeah, exactly. And then he also, he showed up some like post-up scoring this season as well.
Yeah.
So if they put a small on him,
punish them.
He can go to work. So that's just doubly like difficult. So, yep, take it away, Grant.
Take it away. All right. Final question. We better talk about it in the Discord as well. When will London Lions seal it? Do you have what do they need? 3 more wins or 3 games to go in their favour to kind of seal it off? So by that they could win it in Bristol. If results every team wins out, they win it in Bristol on the 10th of April.
Weirdly, Cheshire.
But also they could win it in Cheshire because then they beat Cheshire. It depends what Manchester do.
Yeah, that'd be really fun.
Well, that's it. Cheshire kind of hold the cards on their own fate at this kind of point.
Yeah,
because they play London twice in the next 5 games. So they can actually hold their own, and one of those games is at home. Game this weekend coming up is at home, so that could be a big factor.
Yeah, and when we look at London, and obviously the talent they've got is incredible. Like I'm having to double, triple scroll down to see how many actually players they've played this season. But 1, 2, 3,
50.
It's 19 players have played in the SLB for London this year.
Madness.
Wow. But then you look at games played. Aaron Wright 25 games, Kieran Sandy 18, Adamu 21, Ethan Price 22, Tariq 21, Dean Williams 24. There's some big players there playing a lot of games. They've obviously had injuries to Soladi's been injured. Mike Self started the season injured and then left. McGusty's been injured. Shavar Reynolds has been injured. Randall came and went. I was really impressed by Randall, actually. Yeah. And obviously Joe Scott was a huge injury at the start of the season.
Yeah.
When you look at this London team and you go, yeah, they've deservedly won in the league. They've probably bar one or two results. Obviously, they've lost a few games, but bar one or two results, they've not really walked away with many like big blowout victories at times. Like when you look at like Cheshire have had probably just as many blowout victories, like without looking at it. Like it feels like other
They
teams
probably
have
had
done
more.
it. Possibly, like when you look at that, and does that tell you also about a team that, yeah, they've won the cup, they've won the trophy, they've talked about it, about winning the quad as such, or winning Cheshire Phoenix called it the jet wash. I don't know what Lions would call it. They probably might just call it the quad.
Something lame, probably.
Is this London side, when you look at those names, Aaron Rye's obviously been an MVP. Dean Williams, I think, is one of my favourite players to watch in the league. Is this a London team that will be remembered for winning that quad? But they've used so many players. Like, to me, that's like, I sometimes think when you go back to through history and you look at how many players win, maybe with 9-10 players in the roster, is that just the way modern basketball's going when you've got to balance so much of games in Europe, games on road, loads of travel? Like, is this a thing we'll see more in the SLB, or even if we talk little about it in NBA Europe, or is this just the way modern basketball's going when rosters are so enlarged to do the global game?
Yeah, we will. Especially with Manchester going, well, they were supposed to go BCL this season. They probably will in the future. You know, obviously NBA Europe teams, that will be a prerequisite to play in those competitions. You'll have to have like 15 deep, literally.
Yeah.
But I think we've seen it with kind of Cheshire. They've had a deep rotation. Sheffield have tried a deep rotation. You know, with more money, I feel like there's been, deeper rotations. You know, we were kind of forced into shorter rotations previously, obviously with the lack of resources.
Yeah.
But now, obviously, with the resource, spend kind of balancing out, teams have more money to spend on players quite simply. The question will be, how effective will that be? Because I feel like because of all our league's limitations, I feel like that's kind of manifested in somehow kind of finding the best practices. Like it's really strange how, we've seen kind of London's larger rotations kind of trumped by, teams doing a typical British basketball and playing like 6 guys, stuff like that. Stuff like, ball dominant guards scoring the ball, typical British basketball card play. Like Manchester beating them out.
And I suppose this is what season 1 properly of the involvement of more the Lithuanian kind of backing in London, sussing out how British basketball works and how actually we have our own wee way of playing this game that makes it tough to win games by the way maybe London thought they might have. Is that fair enough as well?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they've blitzed the league, so let's not overplay it. But it must have been like a baptism of, well, not really baptism of fire, like baptism of hot bath. I don't know.
I mean, they're currently 20-5, 7 games remaining. Will they drop another couple games? Maybe they won't. But they've dropped games to Manchester twice, Sheffield, Bristol, and Surrey. Is that correct? Is that the 5? I think it is, isn't it?
I think so.
And you go, you know what? Yeah. I'm just really intrigued to know what London do next. Euro Cup, there were so many games they should have won that they didn't win that could have maybe progressed in the playoffs, and then it's interesting.
Well, it's just injuries, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Like,
they
were really
injuries.
hampered.
Really hampered that actually they got themselves. There was a number of games where it came round and maybe turnovers in that last minute, but then if Joe Scott was available, Shavar Reynolds, McGuster, do you know what I mean? If they had these guys available, I think they definitely turn a few of those games. And actually, London could still be in Euro Cup. Like generally 2 or 3 of those wins, and all of a sudden they're playing in the knockout rounds of Euro Cup. So I think it's one of the ones this season they'll be disappointed. I was about to say they'll be disappointed. They'll be disappointed with the European form.
Yeah, they'll be disappointed with European, I feel like. But how could they be? Because I feel like they've really kind of underspent. So it's kind of like swings and roundabouts. Like, what were they expecting?
Yeah. I suppose that's the interesting question when we get to next season. Like, what does this roster look like next season? How, like, what quality level? Like, will say a Dean? Will players like Tariq come back? Will Dean Williams come back?
Will we see like guys like Amin Adamu still there?
Like, do you know what I mean? Like, how? Because that team's maybe only going to be as good as their British guys if the same league rules are in play. So then it's like, are they like? Is Jordan Williams in because actually he's going to have a greater role next season? Well, is he going to take over from Ovi? Is Ovi going to play next? Do you know what I mean? Like, I think there's lots of questions that I suppose I'll say now. Louis and I will do a season review video like we did on the rosters. We're going to do that for each team, and I suppose it'll be a nose. We'll look at what next season brings. Like, who do we think will stay at each team? And I suppose London, when you go through it, is like you look at this team. Will any of the imports come back? Maybe. Will Aaron Rye be back? Will Dean Williams? Well, I've just said Dean Williams. Will Ethan Price? What will he? Like,
do they
that's
even
the big.
Want Aaron Rye?
Like, do they even want Aaron Rye? Like, I think it's going to be an interesting summer, and I think every team's summer is always very interesting. Something that we all get properly into. But London's, with what we know they want to do, could just be as interesting. Mitch,
if not more.
I'm just like shocked. You said, would they want Aaron Rye? Like, he's like, I think this is the guy that was the MVP of the league, 2 years ago?
Just last season.
Yeah. But I was like, do we even want him? They're going to want him next year? It's like, it's either you take him or someone else is going to have him. I'd rather have him than give him to someone else.
I would like to see what Aaron Rye could do in Europe.
But I just don't think they care. I think they only care about Euro Cup. They don't care about SLB, I don't feel like.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. I think with how the league's going, the league standards improving as we've seen year on year. It's getting better, and London's high demand and high standard is showing that even a team that are playing Euro Cup can lose here. They've lost a few games here against a really competent Manchester, and they've been run close in a couple of games too by other teams. Like, it's the depth that London has been impressive. I think they will make roster changes next season, probably with the expectation of Euro Cup playoffs is their target. Who stays, who goes, we can't answer that right now, but I think players like a Dean Williams and an Ethan Price in particular, two really good level Brits, need to stay. You need to keep them in London. Because
I think anytime Dean Williams speaks in an interview or on their podcast, wherever, he always comes across just brilliantly. I'm a big fan of Dean Williams.
I think Dean's brilliant. I mean, Ethan's straight out of college, and he's doing this. Like this is like, he's had a really impactful first year as a pro. Like, if I'm London, I don't.
I said it. Sorry, Mitch.
No, it's fine. It's the question you have to have is, what are you looking for from the rest of your guys? Like, if injury is an issue, if fitness is an issue, having availability, then that's your target points to improve next year. It's not about it's not about the guys who are available and who weren't, but how can you get more consistency with getting more guys available on a regular basis? You'll have the assets in London to be 18, 19 players deep in a season, fine, because you've got the wallet to make it work if you need to. But realistically, how can you make a roster where you can have 12, 13 guys where you don't have to need to go into those next set of guys? And that's recruitment, and that's doing the stuff behind the scenes to make sure your wellness and your prehab for injuries is off the charts, to say you've got no excuses. So, and they've got the resources. They've got the resources to make that happen. So, it's expectations is something to evaluate for London and where the next steps go. But they have to be thinking to take a step up next year.
I was just looking at their stats for the season, and I can't. The reason I'm going to ask this is I can't decide on it. What do you think London Lions fans think of Chonde Brown? In his time with the London Lions, he's the leading scorer, 14 points a game. Like I feel like he's like, is he the best scorer on that team?
I think he was
Well, he's
played
not-
down a lot when he
sorry.
first came in, but he's been good. I've
He's
really
been terrific. I
I've really
loved
enjoyed
him.
watching him play. I didn't expect to like him, but I've enjoyed watching him play.
Like, I'm just curious what London Lions fans, like, is he one of these, when you put him in a line of the other imports they've had, would they keep him for next season? Like, that's a question. Any London Lions fans?
I would tear his arm off if it meant, keeping him here.
Like, obviously, I know he's been
he'd be
Not
the
as
where
good
he's
first
at
been.
guy.
It's
Yeah,
not as good at
I'm just curious. Like, he's someone that's obviously come in late, and I'm curious to hear what you guys think. Like, what you think on him? Like, he's done a lot in games, and I'm like, I didn't know what to expect. And obviously, he's in a team surrounded by guys like Scott, Reynolds, McGusty now. Like, I'm just curious to see how that all worked and what a future of would Choddy Brown want to stay in London? I don't know. He's maybe another player that looks at the potential of an NBA Europe thing. He probably would be on that periphery, wouldn't he?
Yeah, probably. Maybe I feel like he's that kind of player because previously he was kind of like this kind of periphery Euro Cup guy. I mean, obviously we knew him as like a guy that played with the Hawks, but in terms of Europe, he was kind of like Pro A France. He wasn't really getting to the Euro Cup level.
Yeah,
but he's looked terrific. He's in terms of fitting in that Lions system, just as a piece, he just fits in perfectly.
yeah.
He's not a big on-ball scorer, but like I said when he first signed, I called him the Euro Cup like Will Yoko. He practically is. He's that kind of complementary piece that works really well. So,
like, yeah, he's just had like to get 14 points in the league now. The lead the team in scoring. You would expect more on-ball stuff, but he just goes about his business, gets his points, and does it in a kind of classy way, I suppose.
part of that customer is his experience in other systems, though. He's not playing a very ball dominant role in other teams. He's used to systems where he has to be part of a team.
Yeah.
And that's what it takes to play at BCL level. That's what it takes to play at Euro Cup level. So having someone with that know-how and he knows his role and he does that role well, having a player like that is really valuable when you're taking that step up.
Yeah. Nice one. Anything else you want to add to this topic or any other questions before we round out this episode? Nah. Busy week. It is, but it's a huge week of games that could have it feels like every game's so important right now, obviously with the battle for the playoffs. So go support your team. Some great crowds over the weekend across the league, which is bound to see. So keep going to support. Keep supporting us if you can. Share the pod, get involved, watch us on YouTube, drop some comments, whatever else. So from all of us, what are you going to say, Mitch?
Which game is your number one priority to watch this weekend?
Oh, okay, Mitch, throwing out a wee question.
What's your game to watch for the weekend?
Right, what's yours then? Since you're like, ooh, let's interrupt
Cheshire London for
this
me is
one.
the obvious one for Sunday. Cheshire, the last game of the weekend, Cheshire London is a massive one.
Surely everyone needs to be tuning in to listen to me on Gladiators versus Newcastle. Sure, that's game of the week.
Well, of course, we can watch that and then hop on to London afterward. But let's look at to be fair, even is that or Surrey Manchester on the Saturday? To be honest, that's quite a big one for Manchester, and if Surrey can pick up that win, it's pretty important for them to push up a table too. And
I think you could almost. Thing is, though, Mitch, you could storyline every game this weekend.
Well,
bar London, Caledonia, but like Sharks, Leicester, like Sheffield, like Leicester get the win, they go closer to that middle of the field. Could they still get top four? Sheffield get that win, probably say they're the fourth best team. Surrey, Manchester, well, Surrey beat Manchester. Their place for second place is over. Surrey again are pushing that 4th, 5th slot. Leicester Riders, Bristol, Keddy's game against his former team. He'll probably get 30 points if he plays. There you go. There's all your storylines for next week.
What about Kildare Newcastle? Grant, you missed that one out.
That's always a feisty game. The coaches will probably both get teched, maybe ejected, and it'll be fun and games.
All fun.
With
I don't know who's
on the mic.
I don't know who's my co-commentators that week.
It's not me. Sorry.
Yeah, it's actually me. I'm traveling up.
That'd be fun. You can stay in Mitch's sofa.
Oh, sick.
I'm not even letting you stay in my sofa.
I'm
right, so from all of us here in the SLB Show, thank you for watching. As I began saying before, Mitch decided to ask us about this week's fixtures. Get involved in the conversation, give us a share, like whatever else not. And yeah, we'll be back next week, and everyone have a good one.